I don't have to not have hope anymore.
Yeah.
The orphan in me is like, yes, there is a seat for me at the table. Oh, you sent your only perfect son to die so that I could sit at that table.
Yeah.
He has a seat for you.
Yeah.
He made it for you.
It doesn't matter where you were born, who you were born to, where you live now.
Yes.
Yeah. It's bigger than that circumstance.
As my mom would say, there's not a day that goes by that your biological mother doesn't think of you. I think that's the same. Like, the Father is like obviously pining for us, and he wants us, and there's not a day, a moment, a second that has gone by where he has not thought, you, me, come to me, come to me, come to me. This is where your hope is found. And so I think you're not plan B. Or like, what is plan B? Like, God is sovereign. And he's a creator, and this was the plan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Radiant Podcast, and today we're joined by a very close dear friend. So I call you Jen in my phone, but Jenny, you don't go by Jennifer.
It's not on the birth certificate.
Okay, not on the birth certificate.
I'm just Jenny. I've been a just Jenny my whole life.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
So Jen is how it is on my phone. And my phone, actually, when I was texting you last night about the podcast, it was like, do you want to update her name to Jenny Rohr? And I was like, no. Stop, X. It's Jen.
It's Jen to me.
I don't even have a last name. And so it's
who
like,
needs it?
Yeah.
People
so
spell it
it's
wrong
just
anyways.
Jen.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Jen, I have known you for, I feel like almost my entire time here in Michigan.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like my kids have known you like since they were little, because we moved here. Jackson was like 18 months old. So he's known you for so long. And you would just come over and just be like an aunt to our kids. And then like when Nora was born, and you've been in there as well. And sometimes a little like too much. You're always like, hey, can I like, like
that feels right.
There was a moment where like you were at our house and we were like, early on in our friendship, and you're like, hey, can I have access to like their like cameras at night so I can like just watch them?
The pitch. This is not the pitch. This was not.
And then we were like, oh, maybe not. Like,
get out of here.
No, I was teasing. But we have, so we've been friends, and our family has been friends.
Yeah.
We have worked together at the church for many years. We've traveled the world together. So we've been to the Middle East, done missions, worship, and prayer in the Middle East. So that, just that alone, when you're on an airplane for like 24 hours and like no one can speak the language and we're just trying to like figure it all out. You learn a lot about each other. And so you had a story that you asked her, we're going to share that story, but of us in a prayer room in the Middle East. And you said it like it was this has like been imprinted in your brain.
It was.
I was barely remembering it, but I was worship leading.
No.
I'm pretty sure I was worship leading, wasn't I?
You were at the door. I was worship leading. I got pulled into a team.
Oh, we're talking about two different stories.
Oh, very good.
I have another story. But okay, you tell your story.
So the story is we had the teams. I got pulled in with another team. So it was a prayer. It was a prayer burn. And so we were leading worship. And I was on team with somebody else. And Pastor Sean was around, and he looked through the door at me as I'm leading worship, because there was a cycle of time and you're kind of hopping into teams and hopping out. Yeah. And we had somewhere to go. And you just looked at me from the far door as I'm up there leading worship, and you just looked at me and just shook your head.
I think they were asking you. Yeah. I was like, hey, we're done.
You're done.
And you know what's terrible is if you know me, I really love food. And I think all we were going was somewhere to eat. And I was just like, yo, we're done. We're going to lunch. Like,
we got to eat food. Yeah, it was so funny.
So I was...
Yeah, now I want to know what your story is.
And I could be remembering it wrong, but I think I've also shook my head at you from stage a second time.
Constantly shamed by me. I
was leading and you were singing. And I think in my head, I was like, okay, we need to shift to this next thing they want to do. And I look over at you and you're like, hey, I have something from the Lord I want to sing. And I was just like, no.
Yes. I blocked that one out. It probably deeply hurt me. I was like, what? Oh, yes. You denied the Spirit of God.
Yeah, it wasn't even a, hey, maybe not right now. It was just like, nope.
Yep. So we grew a lot on that trip.
Yeah, those two moments really impacted us. But
you were a great leader of that trip.
I appreciate
really
it.
enjoyed it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I deeply enjoyed doing it with you.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've known each other for a while. You have kind of you've lived in Michigan, but you weren't born in Michigan, right? And so I kind of want to talk about your story literally from birth because many people might not know your story, and it's a beautiful story of God's plan and how God has God doesn't always deal in he doesn't deal in plan Bs, but we might be like, oh, this must be it didn't work out this way, so we'll go this way instead. But it's like, actually, that was God's plan all along.
Always the plan.
And so I'd love just to kind of hear your story. And I've heard your story before. And as I was listening to it again, and thinking about it, I was like, oh, there's a lot of similar things, not exactly the same, but there's a lot of similar things and it was touching me. So I'd love to share some of that stuff too. But I want to just throw it over to you, Jenny, my friend, who, you are young and single, right?
Very
single. I mean, if anybody's watching this, hey, right. And so ready to go. Here it is. And so I love just to kind of throw it into you of where do we start in your story?
Yeah. So I will throw it back to, 1991, the 1900s.
Yeah.
1991. So I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. My parents had adopted all of us kids. So there's 4 of us. I have 3 older brothers. 2 of them are from Seoul, Korea. And then Joel, my other brother, and I are from Kansas City, Missouri. None of us are biological. Obviously, the one's from Korea. But Joel and I are not biological. So our parents adopted us in the 90s.
Okay, so the 2 brothers, are they?
They're not.
Okay, so they're from Korea.
Yep.
They're not biological with
Correct.
each other. You and Joel from Kansas City are also not biological,
Correct.
and you're all in the same home. That's a wild.
Yes.
He's
African American.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's a very colorful home.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Parents are very white.
White.
Very white.
I'm from Iowa originally, which is pretty white. It's so. So I'm trying to imagine a home with 2 very white parents, 2 African Americans, and you have 2 Koreans. What is dinner like? What is it like? Was there what is that like?
Yeah, we defaulted to the American way.
Okay.
For sure. My favorite meal is a hamburger and fries, a cheeseburger and fries. No, but culture was here for us, and maybe some people have had issues with that, but we were fed. So I think we were really happy.
And everyone spoke English.
All as babies. We were all adopted as babies.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, maybe a couple months for my oldest brother or something like that, but we were all babies.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
All right. So that was where your parents were in Kansas City?
They weren't.
Oh, okay. So you were born in Kansas City.
I was born in Kansas City.
Joel was born in Kansas City.
Yep.
But you were adopted, and is that when you immediately were in GR or Grand Rapids?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. My parents lived in Grand Rapids, started the adoption process through the adoption agency. And we were all adopted out of the same adoption agency, but just different places. And so, let's see. So I'll just share my parents adopted. My oldest brother's 8 years older than me.
Okay.
And so that's when the process began, and they just knew they were gonna adopt kids, and that was the story. We were all adopted. Joel and I are 18 months apart. I was a surprise. So they had 3 boys, and they got a phone call, which adoption is so different today.
Yeah.
After hearing the ease in which my parents were able to adopt
got
me.
babies.
And the cost is I wasn't that much. It's just a very different time.
They're hey, you're already getting Joel. Do you you want Jen
2 for
free?
1 deal? I think that's kind of how it played out. They had just tied up their adoption with my brother, the final stuff. And it was, my mom got a call, and she always tells the story that they got the call from the adoption agency, and they're we have a little girl. Would you be interested?
Yeah.
And my mom's well, as a good Christian woman, I feel I need to talk to my husband about this.
Yeah.
And so she called my dad, and then she called him right back and was
yeah.
So it'd be fun to hear her share her side of the story.
Yeah.
But Like they bought my oldest brother by selling a boat. Like it's just like that was gifted to them. The boat was gifted to them. They sold it, bought a child. Yeah. That's not how it is. I have so many friends. It's like the process is so different.
Yeah.
I don't really, my story is that it wasn't an open adoption.
Okay.
I don't know how common that really was in the 90s. I'm really thankful for that component of my story, that it wasn't open for me.
That it was not open.
Correct. Yeah. And as I grew older, the thing that was so amazing is my parents never hid it. We couldn't really hide it because, again, we're all different colors. We look really different. We weren't living in a level of delusion.
You weren't 16. You're like, wait a second.
What's happening? What's happening here? But that's just what family looked like. Like, that was family. It wasn't weird to me. And it also wasn't weird to me that other families all were the same color or nationality. It was just like, this is just what our family looks like. I think my parents did an excellent job of just explaining everything fully open, and they offered it to us, like, ask us anything. They just put it back from the earliest my earliest memory. I remember them being like, anytime you have questions, let's talk about this. I also remember my mom just really just driving the message home of like the selflessness of your biological mom. So my biological mom was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And her parents, the story goes, her parents were not letting her go down the path of abortion.
Okay.
And so in recent years, as we've seen the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I've grown this like insane appreciation for this woman that I hope to meet one day, that she had the option. She could have done it in that time, and it would have been deemed, whatever it was, and her parents. So it's like, I would love to meet, my biological grandparents. They played a role in that. But she got pregnant at 16 underage. Biological dad, 18 years old, going to college, can't do that part. But the story was focused on the selflessness that this woman had, and there's not a day that goes by that she doesn't think about you. It's impossible for her to not think about you. So my parents spoke really, really highly of. That's why I want to meet her. I have to. It's something I'd really, really love to do.
It's crazy because like my mom, so I only found out more recently that I have an older half brother.
Okay.
Like I always say a few years ago, but then I'm getting older and older. Right. So it's been more than a few years now. Probably like, I'll just say 4 or 5 years ago. That my mom, when she was 16, she had a terrible situation happen to her. And she got pregnant with my older half brother. And it was a closed adoption, basically at that point. And, but I'd love to like maybe hear the story from her again, but basically she didn't know it was a closed adoption. So like there was this, like, she just thought if he wants to meet her, like that he would, and he was trying to find her like his whole life kind of a thing. And so, oh wow. Do you want to take that call real quick?
So sorry.
It's okay. We'll leave that in.
Okay.
So I only met him like a few years ago, kind of thing.
Wow.
But he could have been aborted. Like she was 16, like all these things. Yep. And I wouldn't say that she grew up in a Christian home. I don't even think she was a Christian at that time, So she had nothing to like,
hold the moral standing.
Yeah, there was no moral. It was just, and so, but she chose to like that selfless act, like carried him to term, gave him up for adoption. And he's like, has a family and he's in the military and he has like this life. And it's like, he has like,
he's done well.
Yeah, he has a life now. And so all these things. And then my mom was like, I think she was 17 or like 17 and like a half or something. Like my mom was pregnant with me at like her prom and her graduation kind of thing from my dad. So it's not my half brother. It's like with my dad. And not only that, like they weren't married, they got married like a couple months before I got born kind of thing. So like it was, not only did they choose to keep me, but then they chose to stay married, and they've been married ever since, Yeah. And it's like, I could have also been aborted. Like I could, like they weren't Christians then, like they were. And so there's this, that I loved that phrase, the selfless act of this woman who like chose to do this. Yeah. And the fruit that has come after. Now I have the opportunity to know my birth mom.
Yeah.
Who is my mom. I say birth mom, but it's my mother.
Yes.
But you're like, man, I would love to meet her.
Yes.
Just not, and what I love about this, I know I'm kind of speaking for you, but I know a lot of people who are adopted. I'll talk about it later too.
Yeah.
I have 2 sisters who are adopted, but it's like, sometimes you're like, man, I'm angry that they would give me up. I want to meet them and give them peace of my mind. Or like, why didn't you keep me? But it's like, no, you're like, I want to just tell you thank you.
Yes.
I love that.
When I was in college, I was sharing my story with a college roommate, and she's like, do you ever just want to like meet him just to say thank you? Yeah. And that was like the beginning of me like really thinking about it. And I personally, my story has not been that, because of the way that my parents set up. This is a woman of honor in my eyes. Yeah. And also the embracing of like, it's not like I have 2 moms. I have a mom.
Yeah.
This woman carried, like, I was in her womb, but my mom is my mom. Like, I feel like my mom is very much my mom. We're best friends. Like, we see the world similarly. Like, I love my mom so much. And I think that would be the best news to be able to tell my biological mom, like, the choice that you made has led to, like, that's actually, I look forward to being able to do that. And I just need to do it. It's available. And there's like a whole process. So it's
available now. Yeah.
It's available now.
Should we like,
should we call her really quick?
Like FaceTime her?
It's like a whole, I mean, honestly, with how connected we are in the world, it has taken just sheer like waiting on the timing of the Lord to feel like, I'm going to start to go down this path, because it's available. Like, we can talk to anybody. I mean, we know there's these ways of doing that, but so that is the story of how I came to be all of these things. My 3 older brothers, I would say we all view and have taken that part of our story differently. Like, it's affected our lives differently. And I think the biggest thing I would say is I got saved when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
It was the easiest on-ramp because I understood adoption.
Yeah. You had godly parents.
Yeah.
Who weren't trying to hide adoption like it was a shameful thing. Like, it wasn't like, well, we couldn't get pregnant normally or naturally, so we adopted you guys. But like, it's like, no, actually, like, we, like, just as God adopted us, like, into his family, like, we adopted you into our family, and now we're one, like that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, because I understand that, it was so easy to understand the love of the Father. And so I'm thankful. Like, I love that part of my story. And it is so sad to me when I hear people, and I've grown up with different people who are adopted. And the story is of so much sadness. Or when you talk to people, it's like, man, I've never heard anybody view it in such a positive way. And it's like, that is what the enemy would do, I think, is kind of make it seem like it's the lesser option. But it's like, Jesus is here because like, I have Jesus in my heart because the Father sent his Son. Like, it's amazing. Like, that's part of my story in the natural, that I got to live that out, that adoption that comes in the natural that I have access to in the spiritual. Is like, that's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
So like, when do you feel like, you said at 6, you're able to, you gave your life to the Lord, and that came from that positive outlook of adoption. Was it always positive? Like, what were some things that you struggled with just as someone who, like, I think of so I have 2 sisters who were adopted from foster care systems. My parents were did like respite foster care for a while.
Beautiful.
And so 2 sisters from different parents, but they came, like, they adopted them at like older ages, and came from just like really bad, broken situations. So just the process of like, it's almost like this rescue into a home, but then you're trying to like, okay, whatever you knew for the first like 8 years of your life, that's not normal and that's not healthy. Like, and you're just like trying to like show them the love of God and help rewire just broken things in their brain. And so just to help them like function in life. And so, some of their adoption stuff, it's taken a long time for them to like process the positive part of it as opposed to just the negative. And so for you though, it sounds like your parents were just like perfect, but it's like, was there stuff that was coming up? Like you said, the enemy can use those things. I'm just thinking of someone else who's like, well, I'm adopted. Like, my life sucks. Like why,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, totally.
Why is your story different?
Yeah. I think a huge part is I was adopted. I was a month old.
Yeah.
And so the foster care system was not the corrupted nature that we are seeing in society now. So I was only there for a month, and like my mom got the call the day I was born type of situation. So it was all very quick. And so I pray for those people too, because it is like because the reality is that the child is connected or disconnected at birth. That's problematic. You talk about like the skin to skin dynamics and those things that are happening naturally in the body. It's like, that's problematic. That's like an on-ramp for the enemy to come in, for sure. I'm thankful that I didn't have too long, or I was in other homes. I got passed to other homes. But like that is the thing that I honestly can't imagine going through that. And my parents weren't perfect, but because they were people of faith, and they kept it about the Lord, and they showed me the way through those and made those connections. I think that's what saved me in that too. And like I said, my brothers, how we all responded to just life and even our view of our parents sometimes was super different. I would say that was the most challenging, because we're not all in the same family, really. So like, I'm not just connecting with parents, I'm connecting with 3 other brothers that were connected to other people that were connected to their reasons as to why. And we all had different reasons. Like my biological mom is like too young. I had one brother that is like his biological mom was drug addicted. I had one that from Korea, his mom had so many kids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She couldn't. So there's been stuff there.
Yeah.
For sure. And then I have my oldest brother's like, he's just kind of like, I'm just living my life. Like it doesn't even affect, it's just, I'm just living, breathing, I'm here. It's not a part of his huge story that he's walking out, and he's just older, so it's far away from him. But I think there's challenges for sure. For me, my story, the biggest challenge was like people questioning, looking like or projecting you should have a problem, or projecting like, well, why don't like, my brothers got in all kinds of trouble in high school. So my biggest concern was like, I don't want to be associated to all of that. But really, I'm very, very, very blessed by the parents that I have, and that they were obedient to the Lord and made themselves stewards, and trusting and following that heart of the Lord. I feel very, very thankful. And I pray for those people who the story is not the same, because it's very difficult. And I think that's...
Where have you seen, so like I think of, we kind of talked about a little bit at the beginning of typically in these kinds of situations, like, whether or not a mom chooses to keep the baby or abort the baby, or whether when that child goes from the birth parent to an adoptive parent, it's almost looked at as like a plan B. And so if you always have that kind of like chip in your brain, like this is just like plan B, like, where have you, it affects everything you do. Where have you started to see the Lord in different parts of your life or different parts of your story where you're like, this was always, there's like a little fly right there.
Oh. Joining the podcast.
Yeah, there was something that was like right here in my vision. Where have you seen in your life, like, oh, this was plan A, like all along? Like I liken it to, so I'm a firm believer, this is like a totally different context to the question. I'm a firm believer that there's no like the one for you, like in marriage or in dating. Like you choose who you like are attracted to and love, want to spend the rest of your life with. And then once you're down that road, you look back and you're like, oh, this was the one. Like I couldn't imagine life with anybody else besides this person. But in that moment, it's not like beep, 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 this is the one. Like you have to choose this person. And so for you, you're like, hey, this is actually like, like this was actually God's plan all along. And maybe you were more realized it more at a younger age. Maybe your brothers haven't focused on or haven't seen that clearly until like later. But I'm thinking of like my sisters or other people who have been adopted, where it's like I'm plan B. Like I was never wanted. This was never my plan. I was supposed to be somewhere else, or you know, what thoughts or stories or points in your life can you kind of connect to that?
The first thing that comes to my mind is my relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, I feel so known and seen by my mom.
Yeah.
That it's like, I just cannot imagine being like the other, like what else it could have been because of that dynamic. So the part of my story that's is significant to me, especially as an adult, and I didn't know this, but our whole lives, like I said, my parents were super open about our adoption and ask us anything. They weren't hiding anything. They left it to us. So they gave us the autonomy of asking as questions came up. Like literally, I remember so early on just being aware and understanding the dynamics in that. But I didn't ask the question like, why did you adopt me after all?
Yeah.
Like, I never asked that. But somewhere in my, like, honestly, probably early 20s is when I found out that my mom couldn't have kids.
Oh, wow. That's pretty late to know that. Yeah.
It wasn't her song. It wasn't her story. Like, there was never an ounce of that in our home for any of us. Like the reason why we did this is because of this. It was just like, and so, I don't even know. I think they got married and they were going to have kids and that was the plan. And it just was like, they walked in this surrender to like, whatever that looks like, Lord, we want that.
Which is like a powerful, sorry to interrupt, but it's a powerful, like, the way that you start, it's like the law of like first mention. It's like the way you start the conversation with a child. If the first thing you say, and if you already have done, like if you've adopted someone, you've already done that, it's like the Lord can restore. But it's like when you mention, well, we couldn't have kids, so we decided to adopt. As a child, you're always like, you wanted something else.
And I'm that.
And I'm not that. Like,
Right.
And so I have to like, I'm now like seconds kind of a thing. But for your parents to be like, we wanted you and we adopted you. And then to find out we tried and it didn't work. So we just knew God's plan was different. It's not that God not like we had to go to plan B. It's that God's plan was always different.
Yeah. And I've asked them like, was that super intentional that you were like, were you thinking about that? Like we need to make sure. And it's just like, no.
Yeah.
And so they just led, and I could talk about them the whole time because I love them so much, but like they led through that so well with all of us that I had never felt that plan B thing. And so to, as an adult, find out, it actually gave me more love and honor and respect for my parents for that level of care that they wouldn't have mentioned that. And, it wasn't the main thing. It was like, we got the call that you were our daughter and we said yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really admirable. And I would say that to parents, like that it does play like everything, like what you say matters and what you don't say matters. And so finding out that area wasn't something that my parents felt like they needed to share was one of the best things, probably. Like I think it maybe could have affected me differently. But then again, there's the nature-nurture conversation and there's brokenness within all of us. And so, like I said, my brothers handled it a little bit differently too. And their view of my one brother whose mom had too many kids, that was the story. Yeah. Like, I have too many.
Yeah.
I can't take on another. So I think he's lived with.
You don't make the cut. Yeah.
Right. Like you didn't make the cut. And he hasn't always fit into the American culture. And that's been difficult. And the story with me is my mom was like, I can't offer you a good life. I want to give you a good life. It's like very different stories. They affect people. And so it's so nuanced for different people.
Totally.
And just knowing that in general, that connection is severed at birth for good or bad, that in between matters.
Yeah.
Like how you handle the passing on to the next really matters. And then even speaking back to my parents too and how they shared about my biological mother changed everything. Like it'll be so fun to meet this woman and share how we've not talked to her all this time, but I think so highly of her and she's gonna.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. So as you've grown, because you're not like 16, you're not 12, you're not 8, like I don't even know how old you are right now, but like, but as you've grown older
Yeah.
and you can look back now, how has those moments, those early forming moments of adoption, and how is that maybe like, how has that impacted your relationship with the Lord? Like, I know, like, you're like, one of the things I was thinking of as I was driving in today was you're a phenomenal songwriter. I'm going to shamelessly plug your album you have out.
Thank you.
And I'm like, I was even thinking, I was like, I wonder how adoption has affected her songwriting. Like, what naturally comes out of you because of seeing this? Like you just said, like being a Christian was actually a lot easier for me to accept, because adoption seemed such like a normal part of like the process.
Yes.
And so I'm like thinking, like, where else has this affected your life in a positive, like, and I'm asking this question, it's a loaded question, because I'm thinking of people who are like, they look at their adoption as like a negative thing. It's this chip they're always carrying. I was not good enough. I was not wanted. It's something I'm trying to hide in shame, but for your story, it's the opposite. It's like, actually, this is like a beautiful part of my story, because I was able to experience this and this and this, and this was God's plan. And so I was just curious, besides just that, like Jenny at age 8, you know, like what else has it affected?
Yep. Something I love, as I read in the Word, before we were in our mother's womb, God planned and purposed our lives. So it doesn't even matter what womb I came in, God had a plan for me. So that his whole plan kind of changed the trajectory. I will say, among many other people, the orphan spirit dynamic, this isn't the better part, but the orphan spirit lives within. Yeah. And that's a constant crucifying of that and walking in the fullness of who I am in Christ. So much of my songwriting journey, or that part of my life, is just coming from dialogue with the Father, and knowing, because of adoption, like I have that access. And so I'm coming into that place just talking to my Father, who originated me in his mind a long time ago. And I just showed up here. I have struggled with like, why am I here? Like, why? So there's these like disconnects. I think we all have that, but it's like, it just could have looked so different, like for my life. And so I guess those are the negative things. I think you asked the positive things at this point, but
no, but that's true. Like, I mean, when you think about, you could say that's negative. I actually don't think that's negative. I think it's like, obviously there was, like, your story could have been very different. Yeah. But like, you could have been living in Kansas City in a very different home with very different parents. Yep. And your story could have been very different. Yeah. But you were raised in a multicultural home. Yes. In Grand Rapids, Michigan. And you're now here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, serving the Lord, serving his house at this church. Yeah. And it's like, why? Yeah. Like, I asked that a lot. Yeah. What am I doing? And you could look at it as like a negative. Actually, I don't think it's negative. It's like, there must be something going on. Yes. Like, there must be a plan that I have not seen yet. Yeah. Like, you can look back now and you can see like some of those skipping stones, like, oh, okay, like that led me here, led me there. But I still don't know where this is, like, where is this going? And that's completely accurate. Because I actually think that because of the start of the story, it tips you off. It's like, I mean, I shouldn't even be here. Like, I shouldn't even be alive. Right. Like I didn't even have a hope or a future. Right. But now I do. So I know the Lord has set me apart. The Lord had a plan, brought me, placed me in a healthy place, in a beautiful home. Yeah. So like, there's got to be something. There's something to it. Yeah, totally. And then as I've grown and matured in the Lord, it's like, there's nothing else I want more than to give him the result of what his plan was. And even though I'm still seeking and searching, what is that exactly? That's what I'm hopefully embracing more and more, is like, you had a plan. I don't understand your ways. Yeah. They're so much higher than me, but I am here. Yeah. What can I bring to you? Yeah. How can I offer? And so in this season, it looks like songs. Yeah. That's all I got. I got a song for everything. No, I don't. But I think that's what it's helped me process dialogue with the Lord, singing, songwriting. Yeah. And then like, even just like the worship leading standpoint of
if I can offer anything to the Lord, it's worship. And so I feel honored to be able to lead in different capacities just to seek him. I do feel this like pretty intense, like I don't belong here, and not from the self-deprecating kind of way, but just because of growing with God, like I just long to be with him.
Yeah.
And so
it's not like I don't belong here in this city, or it's like in this church. It's like, no, like it's like
I'm a foreigner in this land.
Exactly.
It's that verse. It's I'm a foreigner here. I'm just passing through. I long to get to that ultimate fulfillment, and he just stirs up that longing. It's that eternity that's in all of us, despite if we were born from our biological mother or not. It's like that's the thing that is, the fire is on the inside. And so
I love that. So Jenny, if you were to be sitting across the table, like we are now, if you're sitting across the table from someone who, has been adopted, but is like, it's actually become this heavy negative badge on them. They're not seeing a hope or future. They think that they're second at best. What would you say to them? What would, like, if they're coming to you and they're like, how are you happy? How do you have hope? Like, I don't have that. Like, how can I have that? Like, what would you say to that person?
I have no hope without Jesus.
I
have no hope without the Lord. And obviously my life mattered that he would send his son to die on the cross. It doesn't matter the circumstances that surrounded my coming, going, raising up. He sent his son thousands of years ago to save me, to restore me back to his family. My heart, the orphan spirit in me, is celebrating because I don't have to not have hope anymore. The orphan in me is like, yes, there is a seat for me at the table. Oh, you sent your only perfect son to die so that I could sit at that table. He has a seat for you. He made it for you.
It doesn't matter where you were born, who you were born to, where you live now. It's bigger than that circumstance.
And even as my mom, it makes me emotional now that I'm thinking about this, but like, as my mom would say, there's not a day that goes by that your biological mother doesn't think of you. I think that's the same. Like, the Father is like obviously pining for us, and he wants us, and there's not a day, a moment, a second that has gone by where he has not thought, you, me, come to me, come to me, come to me. This is where your hope is found. And so I think I would say that, and you're not plan B. Or like, what is plan B? Like, God is sovereign. And he's a creator, and this was the plan, and not like, cheer up, buttercup, this is the way it goes. It's like, no, this is beautiful and good, and the perspective has to shift from like the downcastness to looking into the eyes of the Father. You won't find the hope if you can't do that, and if you won't do that, and it's available. It's available, and it's free. So
I love that, Jenny. That was a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Thank you for. It's funny, actually. I learned more about you just in this little bit of time.
I love it.
Even though I've known you for many years. And so, and I'm sorry that I told you no.
It's okay, next time.
And
we're going back.
We'll redeem this time.
Yes,
together,
we'll redeem it. We'll redeem it.
But anyway, thanks for sharing your story. I really appreciate you having it.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Radiant Podcast.